Welcome to the tutorial for the graphs of motion simulation here. So I'm going to click on it and it's going to load up to a position, velocity, and acceleration time graph. Now, in order to generate a random graph, you can actually just hit escape and it will create one for you. So you can kind of hit escape until you get one that you like. Now, if you go over to the left, it opens up a bunch of menu options, which I'm going to show you in a second. If you click anywhere else in the white border, it will actually begin an animation of this little guy moving along the number line according to the motions that you see here. So this first motion is slowing down in the positive direction, and you'll see him move towards positive 5 meters and slow to a stop. Then speeding up in the negative. You're going to see that he actually pauses every 5 seconds. You can actually hit pause there and deselect that so he won't do that. You can also grab this bar here and drag it along to any point along the graph, or I can go back to 0 and click the mouse button to make him go continuously through because we've removed the pause. So I'll hit escape and reset it, and I'll show you some different options you have here. The first one is whether or not to include accelerated motion. So if it's an early lesson and you don't want to include this, you can deselect it and hit escape to generate a new random graph with no accelerated motion. If there's no accelerated motion, you probably also won't want to include the acceleration time graph. So you can actually deselect or select whatever combinations of graphs. Maybe you only want to show the velocity time graph. Perhaps I'll go back to all three for now. I'm going to select acceleration and hit escape to generate a new graph. Now, you'll notice that you can get instantaneous accelerations here in this mode. If you don't want those and want it to be realistic, you can click on Real, and you will have to hit escape again to generate a new graph. And you can see now we have only continuous changes in velocity rather than jumps. This is usually the mode that I use. Labels will describe the motions underneath each section: uniform negative, slowing down in the negative, then speeding up in the positive. You get the idea. I'll remove labels for now. Vals will actually remove the axes, the values on the axes, in case you're only concerned about the general shapes and not the numbers. If you are interested in the numbers and you want the kids to sort of draw their own graphs, what you can do is, I'll get rid of AT for now. What you can do is you could, for example, if you click on this, it hides all of the position time graphs. And I might have the students, I might print this out. I might do a screenshot of this and print this out and give the students the velocity time graph, and then of course they can draw the position time graph. So they might calculate the area minus 2 times 5. We get a displacement of negative 10. If we start here at plus 5 meters east, we would end up at negative 5 meters east, and I could have the kids draw that, for example, and click on them individually so the kids can get the motions as they go. Or alternately, you could start with the position time graph being visible and the velocity time graph being invisible. Or alternately, you can actually unselect each of them individually rather than clicking on the top right. You could have them both being invisible, and you could have the guy move and have the kids describe the motion. And if you were going to do this, you should put the pause back on for each section. You could have the smiley face move, and the kids could, write their final position of 0 and say what he did. I actually didn't watch if it was uniform. It looks like he's slowing down, but not to a stop. So it looked like it was slowing down in the negative direction, but not quite to a stop. So the kids might be able to figure out those shapes. The last couple of things you can do, let me just show the graphs fully. In this drop-down menu, you can pick one specific type of motion. If you only want to show speeding up in the positive direction, for example, we could show that. Or speeding up in the negative. And to go back to a random 5-segment graph, you can go back to random and hit escape as you like. You can see these two are still hidden, so I can select those again. The final thing we can do is you can change the increments of the VT graph. So I could change right now the increments are 0, 2, and 4. If I click here, it says change speed increment. So I can make this 5. And you can see the increments are now 0, 5, and 10, and it will change the position increments and the acceleration increments accordingly. You can also go over to here and change the time increments. They're currently set for 5 seconds each. And perhaps I'll change it to, I don't know, 10 seconds. And again, that will change the shape of the graph accordingly as you go. I hope you enjoy using the simulation.